Come with me to a magical place where being labeled the pork queen is a compliment, where being nice is just a way of life, and where all leaders of the free world must pass through. Welcome to Iowa. Whether you're a current Iowan, an Iowa expat, or an Iowan at heart, this show is for you. This is the Iowa Podcast. Real Iowans, real talk, no drama.
I'm Justin Brady. I'm at Fareway because I've seen some web traffic on the site. Where did Elias go? Because we look at search stuff like SEO, tech, digital junk.
Don't you people have something better to do?
They have nothing better to do because they're very curious where you went. And so we were going to schedule an update. It got pushed back. And I'm like, I'm going to go to where you're at, which is Fareway, and find out what happened. So why are we at Fareway and why are you here? And what just happened?
Well, I got lost one day, and this was the first place I turned into. And I had a 15-year career in journalism, whether it was being a multimedia journalist or a news anchor. Most recently, an evening news anchor with Channel 13. And I mean, I love the people. I love Ed Wilson, Aaron Kiernan, Keith Murphy, Janae Town. You name it. I love the people I worked with. But even though things were going well, we were told, ratings were great, the awards were coming in. At the end of the day, every night I would just feel like I just felt this overwhelming weight of what am I missing, right? I felt like I didn't have a life. I didn't have a social life. I didn't see my friends anymore because I go in at 2 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah.
I didn't spend time with my kids. I couldn't coach my kids anymore. Couldn't play my golf. I love playing golf. And the Wednesday night men's golf league was like my reset, right? Being around my guy friends and playing golf, couldn't do that anymore. And these things just kept adding up, and I didn't see that ever changing, right? Because the shift's never going to change. I think it probably should, given where I think media is heading, needs to reinvent itself. But it wasn't going to happen in time for me to. I didn't want to stick around and see how things were going to change. I wanted to make a change and kind of go out while things were going well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And so I'd gotten to know Reynolds Kramer, the CEO here at Fareway, over the years through charity work, and it's what you do when you're looking for something else. You look into your network. You lean into your network of people, and I don't know anybody that is as connected and respected as Reynolds is. He's just one of those guys. And so I just texted him and said, hey, I'm thinking about what the next phase of my life looks like, and I don't think it's going to be in broadcasting anymore. And he was shocked. He was like, what's wrong? Did something happen? Did you get arrested or something? No, thankfully, no, I did not. It was just, I was looking for something different. And so he said, well, let's go get a drink. So we went and got a drink. And I didn't go looking for a job. I was just genuinely wondering, I don't want to do this anymore, but I could do a lot of other things. Do you know anybody that could use a guy like me? And that's kind of how the whole process started.
You mentioned reinventing yourself. Or excuse me, you mentioned media needing to reinvent itself. Mm-hmm. Is that part of the reason you left and looking for other things?
It's definitely, I could see, and I have seen the transition of traditional legacy media evolving, and I wouldn't say evolving and growing, it's been evolving and contracting, right? You could even see at the beginning of this year, towards the end of last year, mass layoffs in the industry. I mean, we're talking good quality people. And, even though I'm a little different because I can shoot video, I can produce, I can edit, I can kind of do everything.
Yeah, you actually helped me set the lights and everything in here.
Looks good, right? I always felt safe, but that still, to me, I didn't like doing everything all the time. And I could see that was going to be something that was going to be expected, is that you're going to have to do everything all the time. And then you worry about burnout. And I know what burnout feels like when I was an MMJ, and that's a multimedia journalist where you are a reporter literally going out and turning a story every day. You're by yourself. You get burnt out. It doesn't matter what type of beat you're on, whether it's crime and politics, it's school, it's fluff stories. At some point you will burn out. And the older you get, the more you feel the burnout.
Yeah, right? Is a part of the media needing to reinvent itself, is that related to Gallup? This isn't just my opinion, but Gallup has recorded media trust is at an all-time low. Is that part of the reason you left? Is that part of the whole mix that got you out of the industry?
Not so much with me, because I I always loved hearing from viewers, and I think my connection wasn't so much in the content that we were showcasing on our newscast or even the stories I was doing. It was those moments you get with your colleagues on the desk, right? Mm-hmm. Those moments to kind of get away from whatever it is we're talking about and to kind of lighten the mood, have a memorable moment, or maybe a sincere, special moment coming out and reacting out of a story. I mean, I still miss those interactions with our viewers to this day because, you know, they would have watched the whole newscast and couldn't remember hardly any stories they saw, but they remember those moments you had where we made each other laugh, you know. Right. Those are the things I do miss, but I left just more so because I kind of saw where this was going, but on a bigger scale for me, it was a personal life issue of missing my family and not being able to do my number one job, which is being a dad.
Yeah. Do you have that? So because you went from, just to give people an idea, the hours you were working over at NBC affiliate Channel 13. What is that? Is it like get there at like 11 and then leave at 10? You have like almost like a split shift? How does that work? Because I don't think people really process how that schedule works. It's a little nutty.
It is nutty. It's imagine starting your day at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And in fact, you're starting it more like at 1 because you're getting ready, you know, get your workouts in the morning and then and all your stuff, and then you get ready for work. You go in, you have an editorial meeting at 2:30, and then you're shooting promos, you're anchoring newscasts, and then you have this dead time, which I hated. It was, I'd get home at 7 o'clock at night because we get done with the 6:30 for that 6 o'clock newscast, and then you get home at 7, and then you grab a dinner break with your family, and then it's like, I was like, I wish I could just stay home, and just be home and read the stories to my kindergartner. But I got to go back, and a lot of it was I got to go read the same stories we've already read, and that was tough. And then even just that, you have 1 hour. You know, it's not like, you know, you can spend more time if you want. Because I found out, you know, the hard way that was like, hey, you know, you got 1 hour. Well, it takes me 15 minutes to get home. So half that 1 hour is on the road. So I really have 30 minutes at home with my family for quality time. And then you go back, you know, and you're kind of prepping, you're reading through your scripts for the show. And then you do the show at 10, done at 10:30, usually out of the station by 10:45. And then you get home, and maybe you think like, you know, your day's over. Like most people go to bed by, you know, maybe 10:30, 11 o'clock. You can't, like, you just got done performing, basically.
Right, yeah, that's exactly right, yeah.
And so you're juiced up.
Yeah, you're all amped up.
And so, you know, there was quite a long time where it's like, the only thing I could do to get ready for bed is like, you know, pour a whiskey or pour a drink and then just kind of chill out, get that. But that's not healthy, you know? And after a while, like, and my wife would be the one, because she'd be in bed already. She'd come downstairs the next morning and see the glass, you know, and say, you know, I think you might be developing a problem here if you know. And it's something I was like, well, I just need one, you know. I just need one. And then it turned into, but that pour is like a triple, you know. And so, and this is just to be open. It was just that was part of it too, was, you know, I was developing poor habits. I wasn't working out, wasn't taking care of myself. And so that was the other push too, was like I'm over 40 now. I'm losing body mass. I'm like muscle mass. Yeah. I'm losing everything, right? And you can't get it back. You're just trying to hold on to what you have as long as you can. And, you know, I wrestled in college. I used to be in fantastic shape. My wife brings up pictures of me like, remember what you used to look like? And I'm like, well, thank you very much, love of my life. And so that's been part of kind of my reinventing myself too, is, you know, I'm doing that Farrell's 10-week challenge.
Right now?
I'm doing it right now.
Wow.
I've done 3 days, and I feel like I've been in 3 car accidents. And
wait, what?
Just body-wise, it just feels like you just...
Like, how is that related?
You just feel worn out, but I'm so inspired to like...
This explains why you carried me... You wanted to carry me up the stairs.
I wanted to carry all your
I thought it was
gear.
Weird, but that's what I wanted to do.
But, you know, I'm not drinking. I'm eating healthy, which I don't like. I feel like I'm eating like a farmer.
You don't like eating healthy?
I don't.
You will.
I miss my chips. I miss my burgers, my fries, and so the wife's on me about that. But it's part of this new me with this new job, new schedule.
Yeah.
I can find time now to do things. You know, I'm busy, and there's a different type of busy and stress now, but I can find time to do certain things, and I can turn it off too when I want to. If I've had enough, I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go home, pick it back up tomorrow. Maybe I'll come in a little earlier or something.
Well, was there a point where you realized, you said a single to a double to a triple? Was there a point you realized the stress, the health was reaching this point where like I got to do something about it? Is it your wife who said something? Is it a friend who said something, or did you just have this realization that this pattern, like doing the late nights, is simply not going to work anymore? I got to make a change. Is there a point that happened, or you just have a realization on your own?
I could feel it. I recognized it first, and then it was reinforced when my wife would start kind of like, hey, what's going on, And then
that's an awesome spouse.
It is.
Good job.
We get along, and we are best friends, and she knows when I'm full of crap, And she's the first one to point it out, and I'm grateful for that. And it was just that combination of like, I knew I didn't feel good. I was depressed. Guarantee I was depressed. And I wasn't the best dad. I wasn't the best husband. I wasn't the best friend to people. I would avoid even on the weekends wanting to hang out with people. So I was so used to not hanging out with people. And then you go out in public, and it's tough to go to a bar or a restaurant because people recognize you too.
Yeah.
Not to say that it's like, look at me. I never wanted to do that job for that. In fact, I don't like it.
I know.
If you talk to people that know me personally, I always have reluctancy to go out in social settings because sometimes you'll see people take pictures of you while you're having a drink at a bar. You'll see people pointing, and most of the time it's like, you're like, oh, hey, look who it is. But sometimes you could tell people are like, should I go mess with them? I've had that experience. And so I always just was reluctant to even go out and do things. I still run into people that say, hey, you're Elias. And now I tell them, well, I used to be. And it's amazing. It was like 3 months after. This is 3 months in, and like up to like 2 months ago, people would still say like, I love watching you on the news.
Yes.
And I'm like,
I still get that, by the way, because I was at WHO for a while. People are like, oh man, I love the show. And I'm like, well, I mean, it hasn't been there for over years, but
How much podcasting are you listening to? Because this isn't. I haven't been a part of this for a while.
I've been gone for years, guys.
And so, but their interactions are sweet now. People, I can promise you this: people miss me being on the news a lot more than I miss it.
Sure.
And it's a compliment, I think, to some of the work that we did, and I miss it for that reason. But that's about it.
That was the nice thing about classic radio is no one knew what we looked like. So when I was on WHO, I would get looks sometimes where people would hear the voice.
Yeah.
And I would assume that they were like, do I know that voice from somewhere? But no one ever had a clue.
100%.
My dad always said I had a face for radio. So in a loving way, So before we go, what's the role here? What are you doing here at Fareway? I don't think we established that fully, but what do you do at Fareway? They don't have a news department the last time I checked, so what are you doing here? I did see your desk. His Emmys are down there.
The only place my wife will let me put them.
So you're not producing films out of here. What are you doing here?
I'm still producing videos. Some of them are corporate videos, training videos, internal. But I'm the vice president of corporate outreach and communications. So I still work in the media, but it's with the media.
Yeah.
And I've kind of changed how Fareway does things with press releases because we'll write press releases on new stores, right? Exciting things, positive things. And then I will accompany all of that with a video component as well.
Yes.
So if you think about it,
that's so great.
A store is not going to come to your groundbreaking. They're just not. It's just not. They got other things to do, and plus they just don't have the people like.
A journalist is not going to come to your groundbreaking.
They're not.
Yeah.
And so what the thought process is what if we gather the content and put it together as a news station would, B-roll video.
Yep, hand over the B-roll.
Yep, and then we have separate bites where we'll have somebody giving an interview, and we'll chop it up and edit it, so it's just literally all they have to do is bring it into their system, it's transcoded, and 50-50 chance whether they run it or not. Most of your play is in like the morning show where it's just kind of light, they want content because it's like a 2-hour show. But you're giving them everything that they would need to, as if they would have gone to your event. And usually it's pretty quality stuff. The equipment we're using is, I think, a little above what a lot of the news stations are using now. We have DSLR cameras, we have lighting, we have, I just hired a former now Channel 13 photojournalist, Kobe Gaines, who joined my team, and he's better than I am at some things, which is great. And so our department is growing. in the communication side. And the corporate outreach is when you think about Variety or MDA or Americans with Alzheimer's Disease Association. I manage those connections and the charities and the amount of monies that we give to them. And then I kind of help with the events that they have that we're visible at. But mainly it's, how can we, with the revenue that we make, because we set aside a certain amount, just like every business does that, does well, it's what can we do to give back? And so we give back millions of dollars every year we try to keep it here in the state. We're not big on national. And then we want to see the impact that those dollars are having. How many kids is that helping graduate? How many families is that helping to feed? How many mobility bikes is that giving to kids that otherwise wouldn't have a mobility bike? Medical equipment, things like that. And so, it's a very fulfilling job because those are some of the greatest phone calls you can make. Is when you call and say, "Hey, we've granted your request for donation and sponsorship this year," and you have people that cry on the phone to you, thanking you, and I'm just the messenger, but it comes from at the corporate level with Reynolds, Kramer, our CEO, and Garrett, our president, and it's a combined effort of what is in line with our values here at Fareway, and how can we put those dollars to work to do good outside of our stores and outside of this office.
Elias, thanks for updating everybody. And on a personal note, I'm really glad that you're prioritizing health.
Yeah.
Finally, I think we're seeing kind of a national conversation, regardless of your politics, but we're seeing a national conversation that even as a country, a lot of us have let these things go for way too long.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome. And thanks for giving all the iowapodcast.com and listeners of the Iowa Podcast an update. Really appreciate it.
You bet. It's never too late to do some good for yourself.
And to my fellow Iowans, Iowa expats, and Iowans at heart, thanks for listening and subscribing to the Iowa Podcast.